Welcome to the Nagual Zone. I'm Anaam. Today I've got something very interesting for you. This is a book, The Wheel of Time by Castaneda. And I'd like you to pay attention to a quote from the book. It's a quote from his previous book called Tales of Power. And Don Juan and Castaneda are having a chat, as they used to do. And Don Juan is explaining to him something of great importance for the Toltec warrior. Let me read it to you. Don Juan saying, "Our fellow men are black magicians, and whoever is with them is a black magician on the spot. Think for a moment. Can you deviate from the path that your fellow men have lined up for you? And if you remain with them, your thoughts and your actions are fixed forever in their terms. That is slavery. The warrior, on the other hand, is free from all that. Freedom is expensive, but the price is not impossible to pay. So, fear your captors, your masters. Don't waste your time and your power fearing freedom." Let's look over these things. Why would a man of knowledge like Don Juan say this to his apprentice Castaneda? Brings us to the topic of this video: expectations and the cage that others' expectations build around you. Before we realize it, an expectation has been put upon us as we are born. The expectation of responding to the name that is chosen for you. So the first bars of that prisoner now in place starts with a name. You know what the second expectation after that is? Clothes. You are expected to keep your clothes on very early. That's the second bar of the prison of expectations that was put upon you. What would happen to the prison of expectations that you are completely a slave of? In fact, you are paralyzed. You know those people who are completely paralyzed? They can only blink their eyelids. They can't talk, they can't do anything. That is where you're at energetically, and you don't even know it because it's been so long. And because that's all you have used to be. You're used to it. You're indoctrinated, you're institutionalized in that cage. Our fellow men are black magicians. Why would he say that? Think about it. Why would he say? He could say many different things. Our fellow men are trappers, our fellow men are indulgers, whatever. Black magicians. Do you know why? A name is made up of a spelling. Every name has a spelling, right? Can't have a name without spelling. What do you do with magic? You cast spells. Words are magic. Words are spelling. Words, you are spelling something out. Can you spell that out for me? Every expectation is made up of words or feelings. Feelings are made up of words. Words can be given to feelings. That's why our fellow men are black magicians, not out of spite or envy. Envy is very common actually, but not because they're malicious, not because they're evil, but because they don't know anything else. They themselves are subject to the same mechanics from their fellow men. The expectations upon you by the time you're 5 years old, 10 years old, You're carrying a mountain of expectations, and the biggest expectation of them all is that you are expected to obey every single one of those expectations. So it's not enough that our fellow men put a spell on us, not one spell, but millions of spells by the time that we are young boys and girls. The greatest expectation of them all is that you're expected to comply. You're expected to comply. That's why Don Juan says that is slavery. Your kids expect something out of you. Your wife or husband expects something out of you. Your partner expects something. Your parents expect something. Your boss expects something. Now, there are professional expectations. You get returns for it. You're expected to do a certain job. You get paid for it. Those expectations, if you own up to the responsibility of them, which means you say, yes, I hate my job, but I chose to do it. I chose to apply for that job. I choose to turn up every day. I don't have to. No one puts a gun to my head about that, about going to work. But it's the bills I have to pay, yes. The slavery of expectations. My wife, my children, who will feed them? Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's why you turn up to work. As long as you take responsibility for your choices, the expectation of you being impeccable at work, whatever work it is, from a grand daddy architect who designs world famous buildings to the janitor who cleans toilets, it doesn't matter. As long as you do an impeccable job, you get due returns for it. It is not a prison, because you own up to the fact that you chose to do it. The expectations that are a prison are the ones that were put upon you by others, either without your knowledge, because you were too young, you took them on, or out of what you feel were forced upon you. Now, the problem with expectations is that they hypnotize us into thinking that we have no choice but to comply. That's black magic. That's predation. If I was hunting you, you would be given no choice. You would feel like there's no choice but to comply. It's the only way to get out of this situation. That is good predation. That is a good quality predation. I respect that, and I can respect a predator like the predators that run this world. They are you'd be a fool not to respect them. You'd be a fool not to respect the efficiency and the sheer simplicity of the system they have in place in your head and outside, called the average man's consensus reality. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of predation. I love it. This is not the only dimension. You are not the only person, and your people are not the only people that this predator has investments in. This predator has investments in many different dimensions, many different holdings, slave holdings, many different farms. This is just kind of one of the low yield farms. They're kind of troublesome to maintain. There are some very lucrative farms that the predator has. Expectations don't have to be taken on, but it takes personal power to not take them on. You know the greatest thing that drives you and all your decisions, and you can say, no, Anaam, I am the special one. I am not like that. They are like that, but I am not like that. You can think all that nonsense. But you know what the greatest expectation for you that rides your back on like a monkey on your back? What will they think of me if I don't do what is expected of me? If I don't think what is expected of me, if I don't behave, if I don't speak, if I don't do what they expect of me. And they can be any number of people, mother, father, children, wife, all these. The black magic that is coming on you since you were born, but you have no personal power as an average man to be able to deal with these expectations. So what choice does the average man have but to comply, to acquiesce? The government expects you to wear masks, this expectation, that, and the difference between an expectation and a demand is very, very little. In fact, for all practical purposes, they are one and the same. Think about it. And what is a demand? A demand is, if you don't comply, then this punishment will follow. That's a demand. A demand is never placed in the positive. If you do this, then this will happen. That's not a demand. That's just offering a carrot to a rabbit, a dangling carrot. That's the reward side of it. A demand is when it's unspoken punishment. If you don't go to the market and get food for us today, this is what's going to happen. If you don't pay the bills for our household, 3 children to feed, I have slaved away for 20 years to be your wife, blah, blah. The hidden complaints. If you don't comply to my expectations, this is what's going to happen. Now that's a demand, right? In fact, it's a demand born out of unspoken tyranny. The problem is, the frustration lies in that we feel powerless to act out of the expectations of our fellow men. The Toltec warrior, on the other hand, realizes what a prison it is and does everything that is not non-compliant. Because the warrior has the necessary personal power to be able to do that. The warrior is completely self-sufficient. So others' expectations completely don't matter. They are completely irrelevant because the warrior knows that's your monkey, that's your circus, got nothing to do with me. I am here doing whatever I'm doing because I choose to do it. And you can't just rationalize your powerless slavery of expectations by saying, no, I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing. You can't, that's just, what the hell? It's rationalizing your dishonesty. That won't work. You still remain a powerless fool. Now you are starting deluding yourself, right? So get very honest. Get very honest with yourself. Really look within, and you will find tons of expectations that you're complying with all the time. All the time. Can you deviate from the path that your fellow men have lined up for you? Can you? You got the guts? You got the power? You've got the self-sufficiency to be able to do that? Well, if the answer is yes, let's see you prove it in your life. All up here is all nice. Everyone's got big guns up here. Everyone's a big Wonder Woman and a Superman character in their heads because the average man feels worthless all the time. So we must compensate by feeling like we're worth something. You're worth nothing. You got no power. You got no power to move anything in your life. Once we accept the baseline where we're at, looking at life evidence, right? That's when we can work from there. But if we're deluding ourselves even a tiny bit, even just a tiny bit, you've suddenly created false images in your head about reality and where you're really at. And now there's no way to change. It has to be gut brutal honesty. And you must look at life evidence, not your own opinions. They're completely worthless. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, if there was something worthless in this existence, it would be your opinions and my opinions, especially about myself, and especially your opinions about yourself. The day this penny drops in your head, that every single opinion you ever had, and you continue to churn them out like a factory preset, they're all worthless and a complete waste of your precious energy. That day, a great change will come upon you, and you will have gained the secret to, you will have released a big cache of energy, and personal power will start developing in you. From that day on, you will never take your own bullshit seriously. That's a big step in personal power. Watch my last video on this, and I say this all the time, never believe your own bullshit. So, whoever is with them is a black magician on the spot. Do you know that we become the company we keep? I'm a great believer in that paradigm, and it is true. If there was anything true in existence, it is that we start resonating because we are perceptual beings. We are awareness perceiving. Yes? And our awareness, our vibration starts to resonate with the dominant vibration in our environment. So you literally become the company you keep. If you keep the company of black magicians, people expecting, naturally you're going to be one of them. You're expecting so much out of your wife and your kids and a this and a that and a mom and a dad and a bank and the money and so much entitlement. Make sense? The warrior, on the other hand, is free from all that. Freedom is expensive. Yes. Those who are not willing to pay the price of everything, just can't get freedom. You either have freedom or you don't. You can't have partial freedom. That's not freedom. You can't have a little bit of freedom. That concept doesn't exist. That is self-delusion. I'm a little bit free though. I have 90% of expectations in my life that I'm bound to by, because I have obligations and, they depend on me. I'm so important. Yes. Pat on the back, pat on the back. Yes. But 10% I'm free. Yes, I get to do what I want 10% of the time. Yeah, well, you're not free, are you? You've been allowed that 10% of the time. Again, the self-delusions, let it go, become brutally honest, and look at yourself. It's hard to do, but there's no way you can grow unless you're willing to do that. Now, imagine what happens to someone who does not behave according to expectations. Do you know what the first life evidence of a Toltec warrior amongst you is? You will feel a vague sense of unease around them. Because even though that warrior is stalking, it's a wolf among sheep, the sheep will shift and their bodies will shiver. There will be a little bit of a sense of unease when that person is around. Even if they are the most magnetic person to be around, in the sense of you really want to be with them, you want to hear what they have to say, there's a sense of vague danger. Do you know why? Every time children come into contact with me, they're terrified. That includes newborns, babies, all the way up to teenagers, many grown people, all age ranges. One of the common jokes amongst people who know me is, bring Anaam along at your own peril. Unless I'm stalking. When I'm stalking, it's a very different ball game. But when I'm not stalking, which is very rare amongst average men, stalking is a survival mechanism. But when I'm giving a little bit of free rein to my personal power, there's a sense of terror in people. I've said that reflected back to me many times in my life. Children hide behind. But then you know what happens? A magical thing happens. Very soon after that, the children can't stay away from it. Something happens. Once their body accepts their mortality, once their body accepts that this person is reminding me of my mortality. Children don't realize this. It's their body that shrinks, like, oh my God, I'm here to live. I'm young, I'm here to live. The symbol of death cannot be faced. I'm not ready to face that. So they hide behind, they run away, they cry. Very soon, they can't stay away. Anaam, Anaam, oh Anaam, Anaam. A vague sense of danger envelops you. The only time the average man should feel safe around a warrior is when the warrior is stalking them. Do you know why that danger is there? It's not because the warrior is a big, short, dangerous guy. No, it's not that. It's because the warrior does not, cannot, and will not be tamed. So you have a human being that is behaving normally, laughing, joking, but there's this something behind all of that that puts people can sense that this person is untamable. Unlike me, unlike everyone else in this room, unlike everyone I've ever met, this person is a wild card. They are unpredictable. They are liable to do anything at any given moment. This makes them unpredictable. This makes them uncontrollable. And I don't know why, but I feel uneasy around that. That is dangerous. I can't take a lot of this person. I have to take them in doses. That is, in other words, beware of nice warriors. If you're not feeling threatened in the presence of a warrior, if the warrior, how do I put it? This is just stuff that can easily come across as self-importance, but you know, these are the inside, behind the scenes of you know, a warrior. What can you do? A Toltec warrior. These are behind the scenes that I attempt to kind of just bring. I don't care if you believe it or not, it doesn't matter to me, but that's the way it kind of works. These are the symptoms. One day, if you are fortunate enough to become a full-fledged warrior, you will experience exactly these things. And that on that day, you will say, yeah, Anaam was absolutely right. That's the way it is. Stalking is a survival mechanism. Otherwise, no one will want to be around me. You see? Beware the weight of expectations and beware people feeling safe around you. When someone says, I feel safe around you, it's a bad sign. That means you are, what they're really saying is, you are just like me and we both can comply and that makes me feel safe. Here I'm not talking about rebels. Oh, but Anaam, I'm a rebel. I never fit in with society. Yeah, well, good for you. That's not what we're talking about, are we? If it was that easy, then everyone would just be a rebel and feel great. It's not what I'm talking about. It's very hard to understand this. Sometimes I feel the elusive parts of warrior living, they're kind of indistinguishable from self-importance, because to someone listening to this, they'll go, yeah, what does Anaam think of himself? He thinks he's some big shot dangerous guy. It's really not like that. And I hope you can see the idea behind my descriptions, or at least imagine it. You know, it should make logical sense. You can act, you know what, you can verify this for yourself. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Warrior, no warrior, Toltec, small tech, no one cares, right? Verify this for yourself. Stop behaving in the way others expect of you and watch what happens. Just watch what happens. And then come back and comment on this video and tell me what your experience was. Tell all of us what your experience was. First of all, that gate itself is difficult to pass through. Stopping behaving like others expect of you, especially your family members and people close to you, and doing it on a constant basis, ongoing basis all the time. You will have to learn what it is that you are beyond the expectations of others. You don't even know that, right? You only know yourself as a reflection of the expectations of others. You don't really know what you really like, what you really don't like, what you really hate. You've been told what you should hate, what you should love, what you should sympathize about. Oh, the poor dog, he died. Thank God that other dog lived. How sad. Oh, you couldn't care less about dogs living or dying in the world. So don't kid yourself. You've been told by society the expectation that this is what a caring person behaves like. Oh, thank God the dog escaped because the car didn't hit him properly. Oh, what a relief. That is a horrible news. What the hell is a horrible news? You tell me. What the hell is a horrible? As a warrior, I've literally forgotten what the hell is a horrible. What is a horrible? That's so horrible. It is what it is. What the fuck is a horrible? That's so sad. Really? Well, someone's died and that's sad. Okay. Well, you choose to feel sad, but you don't have to. You can question it. Someone dying is sad. Oh, but Anaam, you're so hard-hearted. You don't feel anything. My kid died of cancer and I'm grieving. Good, grieve. Don't make a story out of it. Kids die of cancer all the time. They'll continue to die. Just because it's your kid doesn't make it any special. Sorry. Do you see how dangerous that makes that person? Now, if I don't stalk, what's going to happen? I'll get lynched being like this. So will you. Stalking is a survival mechanism. A warrior a genuine warrior should not be able to function in the average man's reality unless they are stalking heavily. Do you understand? This should create a picture in your head of what it is from the warrior side, what it is like, and what expectations do to us. So the challenge remains. Stop behaving like others expect of you, especially your loved ones, and see what happens. And then come back and report to me your experiences. Take a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years to really experience that. Go on a journey with it. It'll teach you a lot about yourself and the prison you're in. And then come back. It'll be interesting to see what you found. With that, let me know in the comments your thoughts. Keep it relevant to the video. I don't want to hear stupid comments like, oh, Anaam, you spent 5 hours talking about some bullshit, that blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, I spent 5 hours. Tough. Don't want to watch it. There's a button called stop and there's a button called go away from this channel. Go. No, what the hell? What kind? Don't put stupid comments, okay? Put comments that are worthy of you as a person. Don't waste your precious energy on nonsense. I don't care about it. No one else cares about it. You get to walk away feeling good, but also feeling delusional. Put your thoughts in there. Let's see what you have to say. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Walk in freedom. Bye for now.